Hey, what is going on, crypto family? It's Zip back with another video of clarity in this chaos of the current financial system. Today, we're diving deep, not into price speculation or hype, but the real economic potential of a digital asset called XRP. Forget moonshots. We're talking about how XRP could actually flip global finance on its head. And we're going to look at the areas that it specifically can improve and will improve. So let's buckle up. This one's going to be fun. Now, before we get into it, just do me one easy favor. Please hit that like button. And hopefully by the end of this video, if you have not already subscribed, you will do that as well. Trying to get this information out to as many folks as possible to understand what these digital assets like XRP are and what they can do financially for them in the future, as we're starting to see regulation come together, cases being dropped, a positive SEC administration that is favorable to crypto assets, and a whole other litany of things going on in this environment. So again, with that, we're going to go ahead and jump right into some things. So let's start with one of the biggest middlemen in finance, if you would. They're called clearinghouses. These guys, you could compare them, I guess, to the referees of financial trades. They're sitting in between buyers and sellers to make sure everyone plays fair. They handle trillions in assets every day, providing clearing and settlement, asset servicing, as well as management and reporting. But they also do something else. They slow things down. Trades take T plus 2 plus 3 days to clear. Capital gets locked up, fees pile on, and worst of all, it's a single point of failure. That's all changing, ladies and gentlemen, in this digital financial transformation that we're seeing. Now, let's examine one of them, the DTCC, who has a plan to put global financial rights onto distributed ledger technology. Let's look at here. You can see, and by the way, go out to Genfinity. Excellent article here talking about the DTCC and this patent that they now have. We're going to read this paragraph here. The DTCC, a critical backbone of global finance, recently published a patent, US, and a bunch of numbers. This patent describes DTCC's approach to moving global financial assets onto blockchain networks. However, unlike purely decentralized solutions, DTCC's approach maintains a centralized control. This move, though, signals a clear direction toward digital assets managed securely under traditional governance models. Another reason why we need the regulations and we need all this other stuff to come on board, because the institutions aren't necessarily going away, but they're being modernized and they got to understand how to hold it. So what is this patent about? This patent shows that the DTCC wants to dominate tokenized finance globally while being able to interoperate across public blockchains, build private consortiums, DLTs, manage rights dynamically, meaning delegate wallets, and prepare for quantum security threats. Let's take a listen to what they have to say here as the bigger picture.
Blockchain actually offers something that's radically different. It allows us to run all forms of value on the same rails. And for example, I can run cash and commodities, debt and equity instruments, public and private, individual pieces of art or other ownership stake titles to property, all on the same financial rails, and engage in financial transactions that are able to clear and settle in minutes, if not seconds.
In minutes, not seconds. That's the modernization. Now, enter XRP, and specifically in this patent, they did discuss Ripple, XRP ledger technology. So what can XRP do? It's going to eliminate the delays of these clearinghouses altogether. Transaction can settle in seconds and are validated on chain. You know, the ledger is immutable. It is the law. They can see everything that is occurring on it. No sleight of hand like we've had in the past, which we'll talk about here in a minute. That means speed, right? That means less counterparty risk, less capital frozen in limbo for 2 to 3 days or 5 days, and an economy that moves at internet speed. We can look at this also from Smoke, always dropping information from Citigroup, and what they're discussing about DLT tech as a requirement to get to zero settlement processing. Again, ultimately, the industry needs to work together to ensure that T+1's integration is straightforward. The industry needs to collaborate and facilitate interoperability. That's what this is all going to be about, ladies and gentlemen. This new environment is going to be interoperable, and that's why I don't just buy XRP, although it is one of my largest holdings, but I diversify across the board on other chains because these chains are going to be interoperable. And as a matter of fact, in that DTCC letter that we are document that we were just looking at, they mentioned Hedera as well. So interoperability is where it's going to be at. But how do we expedite settlements through innovation? With the US and Canada on the cusp of T+1 trading, money movement, some believe the imposition of T+0 is an inevitable step. Absolutely, it's the next step. There's also a general acceptance that T+0 will only be possible with what? New disruptive technologies that are assimilated into the post-trade operating model. And it's going to be impossible to do that without DLT and without XRP, to be specific. So again, things are changing. What else slows up the system? Custodians. We know that custodians and big banks, they hold our money on behalf of us. They're institutions and investors. You'd think they're safe, not always accurate and not true, but what do they come with? They come with high fees. They come with delays as well. I mean, it takes forever to even to move an ACH transfer, 3 days at a minimum with all of these banks. That is ridiculous, and it's going to be modernized and speed up. And what do they do when we keep our money in the banks, which I put in other videos and content here? They basically take our capital and then just make more money off of that capital. They're using our money. We want to become the bank. We are becoming the bank, and we can be the bank already. XRP can be self-custodied, secured with multi-signature wallets, or locked up. Now, in the future, the custody solutions will integrate with the institutions. We'll see where that goes. They will be able to probably custody our XRP and these other digital assets. And we will be able to earn yield off of that. But for now, we can take the wheel and take that responsibility, and we can send and settle transactions now, peer-to-peer. I can send anyone XRP. I can send anyone USDC, RLUSD, whatever the case may be. The goal is to hold on to this XRP asset for as long as possible, as we are seeing regulations coming that will be a guide for the institutions and how they'll be able to utilize this tech. That's what we want to wait for. Now, are we going to see price movement before that? Absolutely. But the ones that can absolutely hold the longest will see full market maturity and new capabilities and will be worth the most in the future. So it's a long game, ladies and gentlemen, not financial advice. I do have an approach to where I will sell off a limited amount of my capital, but that's why I'm diversified. So I can maintain a huge bag or a big bag or a modest bag, whatever the case may be for you. But let's listen to Sergey Nazarov about the bigger picture with stablecoins and how really more regs are going to be needed in the future as this tech is embraced and tokenization explodes.
Stablecoins is going to happen with every other tokenized asset type. Stablecoins only became interesting to the government and only became interesting to society at large once enough of the underlying asset, the US Treasury, was in the stablecoin format. So once stablecoins passed 0.5% or 1% of total US Treasuries, then everyone started running around and caring about them and worrying about what is this format or what is this holder of US Treasuries. Firstly, that's going to happen with every other asset class and every other asset type. That once you get to 0.5%, 1%, 2%, 5%, depending on the asset class, everyone in that asset class will be like, whoa, what is this thing that is now eating up all of these underlying assets as it converts them into this tokenized form? So that's something you're going to see generally, and you're going to see more bills, more legislation, and more rulemaking from the regulators about those different asset types. But for stablecoins, it's now reached a high enough level where it's become a key issue. So they need to make regulatory clarity happen. They need to make legislative clarifications on how it should be used properly, because it's basically big enough. From here, as it becomes bigger, it will only be even more important that you have regulatory clarity about how to use it, because the US wants as many stablecoins as possible to be backed by the US dollar and US Treasuries. So if you actually accelerate the issuance of stablecoins, as the US government, you're accelerating distribution of the US dollar, which is adding and contributing to US dollar supremacy, US dollar reserve currency status, which is basically their main.
So again, ladies and gentlemen, the big picture here, and another reason why we need these stable coins, and the US is embracing this technology, the current administration is embracing the technology, is because in the end, it benefits the US, it benefits other regions of the world as well. Now, let's talk about SWIFT. Again, another part of the system that just slows things up. What is SWIFT? It's just messaging, right? It's like a postal system for banks, but it doesn't actually move money. It processes that movement of money. And we know, let's talk about Hidden Road, kind of a player acting as a middleman for crypto and FX trades, right? But still a middleman. But now we know with the Ripple acquisition in the future, it's going to have a major upgrade to where Hidden Road will be able to use XRP. This is a very, very big deal. It's a bigger deal than I think we even understand as far as how that in-house capability is being modernized as Ripple works through this acquisition process. Because why? XRP doesn't just message. It settles instantly, globally, 24/7. They combine both the messaging, the value transfer, and the settlement into one atomic transaction, and we know as an ISO 222 supported asset. I mean, that literally is like us emailing and getting paid in the same second. And that's why XRP is going to be utilized. We can look here and see transaction speed of Ripple compared to traditional systems, seconds versus days, transaction cost, low, pennies, under a penny, traditional systems, high, security, very high on the XRPL, medium within the traditional systems, intermediaries use, few. Right now, there are many, and that's why it's slow to move money anywhere. Scalability, very high with XRP and very low with the traditional system. And that's why it's been the way that it's been forever. And it's being upgraded and modernized. Now, let's look at a real world use case of why instant settlement assets like XRP are needed to modernize this financial system. Let's talk about Archego's capital management. So you may remember this if you've been around for a while, but back in 2021, basically this family office used hidden leverage techniques through multiple brokers. And you know what? No one knew how exposed they were. Why? Because it wasn't on a ledger. It wasn't instantaneous. When their trades tanked, banks lost billions and people were prosecuted and, put in jail, rightly so. But again, why? Because there was no real-time visibility, no shared ledger, and no instant settlement. With XRP, it's conceivable that this would not be able to happen and could not happen. Positions would have been recorded on chain, collateral would have been escrowed programmatically, and liquidation would have been automated when thresholds broke. Boom, there you go. Risk contained, contagion averted. Again, these technologies are absolutely phenomenal and saving a lot of heartache and time and money in the way the system is now. So again, this is about unlocking trillions of dollars in tied up capital, giving real-time financial tools to unbanked communities, and replacing trust in humans with trust in math, in the software. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you own the software. Literally, you own the financial system when you hold the asset, XRP or any of these other high valuable, usable utility assets. And it's creating a world where financial failure is no longer contagious, but it's contained by design within a system that is efficient and processes and moves money instantaneously. So while the world argues about whether XRP is going to hit $5 or $500, the real question is this: what happens when it becomes the plumbing of the global finance system and you own some of that? Well, it means you'll probably be able to start some new hobbies and their cost won't matter much. So we just need to stay patient as we watch this system and this chess match unfold between the old system and the new system and the new technology, and just be absolutely confident in what we hold. Because again, I am shooting for Q3, Q4. I think a lot of this is going to start to unfold, and a lot of what we've been waiting for will be there. We will see price increases probably in May. We're seeing the markets right now, crypto market specifically, doing very, very well. And XRP has been holding the line, very durable. And I do believe we're going to see some price movement action here very shortly. But we need to look at the macro and that long term that I've been putting in other video and content, so we have that bigger picture, because it's not just about price go up and I make a few bucks. It's about that price going up and continuing to go up, and I'm maximizing, my profits and holding this asset long term as some of the other financial system changes. And we have ETFs that we're going to be able to utilize that I've been talking about in other videos and other folks have been talking about. So again, hope you got something out of this today. Just keep that mindset on positive lock, continue to gain the knowledge, learn continuously, and be very, very excited. But until next time, Zip is out.